Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Hello and welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show. Glad that you've joined me here today. It's a great day to be alive. There's no question about it. I want to just tell you how things are going with the book. It's very exciting. We've had a lot of interest and sales and people opting in for the bonuses because there's a slew of bonuses that come with the book that help you get through the book and understand things, and you have little cheat sheets on all the different points in the chapters. So those bonuses are awesome. And also, for those of you who don't know, and I haven't talked much about it yet, so you probably wouldn't, I have a companion course called 7 Simple Steps to End Emotional Eating Now. So that course is open for enrollment right now, and it's amazing. It's going to be a great course. It starts on May 15th, and you can learn more about that by going to healyourhunger.com. So check it out. And today I want to talk to you about emotional eating, because people sometimes wonder, are you an emotional eater if you eat the wrong foods? And it's such a great question, because I think people tend to think that emotional eaters are just those who overeat. And I'm here to say that emotional eating covers all aspects of disordered eating. And so I want to cover that today and talk about it. You know, certainly for me, my experience is that I was an emotional eater, and I did overeat. I was a binge eater. There's no question about it. I wasn't a binge eater until I actually learned how to binge. I don't think I knew how to binge in a way that was planned out and intentional, I guess is what I should say. I definitely had eating bouts that constituted a binge before I learned how to binge. But what happened for me is that my sister, who was a binge eater, literally took me down to Friendly's Ice Cream, which is a local ice cream shop on the East Coast, and we each bought our own pint of ice cream, orange sherbet, I remember it clearly, and we went across the street and sat on the bench, and we each had our own spoon, and we downed our own respective pints of ice cream. That was my first formal binge. And, you know, I did much binging after that. And I'm not blaming my sister. It's just that she was a well-developed binger by that time and taught me this. And I didn't know you could just go order a pint and eat it all yourself. So, you know, she clued me in, and there's other bad habits she taught me. You know, she used to make up a whole, like this huge, we had these big wooden bowls that my mom would use for entertaining, like to make a big salad. And she would fill an entire, like, big wood bowl with popcorn and butter and salt. And she would hoard it, and she wouldn't share it with any of us, my sisters and I, my other sister and I. And I would pretend to take a piece, and she'd flip out and get really angry. She's very protective of her food. She was an emotional eater as well, if you haven't figured that out. And so she'd eat the whole thing, like literally this vat of popcorn. And I did the same thing. I mean, I would certainly took after her, and I would make this big vat of popcorn and eat it for myself. And I don't think I was, I did it mostly alone, so I had nobody I had no little sister taunting me. I was the little sister. So I probably would have reacted the same had a little sister taunted me and pretended to eat some of it. So anyway, that, you know, that's how it went down in our family. We were bingers, and it was pretty gross. I mean, we were really into our food, and we're all hurting, and we all had our various forms. Both my sisters and I had various forms of eating disorders, pretty much all the same type of thing, you know, overeating, binge eating. My middle sister was probably a restrictor from time to time. She was thin and more controlling than my other sister and I were. We ended up obese. And thankfully, my oldest sister found her way to healing as well. And actually, her path led me to my path. So she led the way on that. But anyway, so my point in saying all this is that that's the form my overeating and emotional eating took. But for those who don't relate to overeating or binge eating, I want to talk about other forms of emotional eating, because, somebody may say, if I just eat the wrong foods, does that mean I'm an emotional eater? And I'm here to say that yes, it does, because you have to understand emotional eaters do come in all shapes and sizes and eating habits and patterns. And so somebody who just eats large meals and tends to eat, anybody who's obese is overeating, in my opinion, unless they have some strange medical condition or taking some kind of medication that blows them up, which is not the usual case for somebody who's obese. Generally, they're obese because they're overeating. Overweight comes from overeating, and overeating comes from what's eating you. And so it's really important to know that if you're drawn to carb foods, like if your favorite vegetable is corn or peas, or potatoes, you're drawn to the starchy foods, I believe, for an emotional reason. If your favorite fruit is a banana, okay, or high sugar fruits, it's because of an emotional reason. If you're loading too much on your plate and you're eating very greasy, fatty, starchy foods, that's emotional eating. It doesn't have to mean that you're binging on those things. You don't have to have 5 plates of tater tots like I used to at lunchtime. It could be that you just prefer tater tots along with your burger. And so it's really important to understand that we're drawn to these heavier foods and higher amounts of foods if you're a binger because of emotional reasons. And the 3 main ones that you've heard me talk about before, I call it the PEP test or the PEP formula. P stands for painkiller. So we're drawn to heavier foods because they anesthetize our pain, okay? They put a blanket over our feelings where we don't feel anything. So we're drawn to those heavy foods. If we're eating a salad, we're not covering up our emotions. We're still feeling our emotions. So even if we eat a salad, if we eat heavy blue cheese dressing and croutons on that salad and bacon bits and lots of cheese, it's probably for emotional reasons. When we are drawn to the heavier, fatty, starchier, high-calorie foods, it's not simply that we like them. It's that they are serving an emotional purpose for us. Namely, they're killing our pain. E in the PEP formula stands for escape. We're also looking to escape from our feelings. So we don't want to deal at some level. And you may not be aware of this, and you don't have to be conscious of this to have it be happening. So we're escaping from reality, from responsibility, from all kinds of situations we don't want to deal with out of fear, okay? So we want to kill the fear and escape from our problems. And the third thing, the other P stands for punishment. So much of the time we're eating these heavier foods because we're actually punishing ourselves. We're causing ourselves to gain weight. We're causing ourselves to have heart trouble and diabetes and low movement capacity and all different kinds of problems that come with obesity and being overweight. And so it's a subconscious level. We're choosing that for ourselves through our addiction to food and heavy foods. So you don't have to be a binger. I mean, again, we come in all shapes and sizes. You could be just somebody who prefers the heavier, starchy foods. You eat a lot of bread and butter with your meal. You couldn't possibly live without bread. You tend to have dessert with your meal because you can't seem to go without. But you're not eating 5 desserts, you're just eating one like normal dessert eaters. But the thing is that it's driven by your emotions, and that's what I really want to draw your attention to, is that even if you're just eating normal amounts, but all in the heavy, starchy, fatty food groups or arena, it's because that food is serving an emotional purpose for you. And so, and if you're not aware of what that purpose is, it's probably because the food is working so well. Okay, you're sedated. You're basically, you're asleep. You're sedated by the foods that you're eating. And so that's why eating a salad seems like preposterous to you or like the last thing you want to do, because you need the heavier foods. You want that heavy blanket over your emotions. I want to draw your attention to this because it's easy to fool ourselves. It's easy to think, oh, I'm not an emotional eater. I don't binge. I don't sit in front of the TV with a pan of brownies, like Tricia did. but that doesn't mean you're not an emotional eater. And I'm not trying to indict everybody either, but if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you've got some suspicions. But even somebody who undereats can be an emotional eater. And really, the work I do is for anybody with any kind of disordered eating, because even if you're somebody who's a restrictor, or you buy a Lara bar and you take small bites off of that Lara bar, every 3 hours you take a quarter of a Lara bar, okay, very ritualistically, very precisely, and in a very controlled way, and you're skinny, maybe too skinny, and you're very controlling around your weight and very paranoid about gaining weight, again, you are likely an emotional eater, and your behaviors are emotionally driven. Truly normal eaters don't do these things with food. They eat when they're hungry and they stop when they're full, and they don't think about it. They don't spend their day thinking about food. And no matter what your weight is, no matter what your particular ritual with food is, if you're obsessed with food and weight, you're probably an emotional eater, and your obsessions are driven by your emotions. You have to understand that when we're obsessed with our weight and with food, whether we're binging or not, whether we're eating the wrong foods or not, when we're obsessed, our obsession is emotionally driven, okay? And people often think, why am I so obsessed? What's going on here? Well, again, let's go back to the PEP, the PEP formula: pain, escape, and punishment. This is the way obsession serves us. So it's not just food that's serving us, the obsession is serving us. And people are always trying to get rid of the obsession, but you have to understand, or cravings. Cravings is a whole nother issue, and just thinking incessantly about a food and craving that food, again, emotionally driven. So they all fall under the umbrella of emotional eating, okay? And this is why I really think this is an important topic to cover, because again, we all come in different shapes and sizes. Our obsession comes in different shapes and sizes. We obsess on different things. We're preoccupied with different foods. We're drawn to different foods. We get hooked on different foods. We get obsessed and crazy around certain foods. If we don't have that food, we freak out because we're dependent on it, but we're dependent for emotional reasons. So I hope you're getting the point here that these various forms of disordered eating come from our out of control emotions, and the food addiction, emotional eating disorders, I don't give a hoot what you call it. These things are driven by an inability to deal with uncomfortable emotions, which is the bottom line for emotional eating. All these things serve the purpose of helping us distract from uncomfortable feelings, okay? And that is the bottom line. I was an emotional eater because I didn't think I could cope with my emotions, and I had no interest in feeling them because they seemed too daunting, too overwhelming, and frankly, I thought if I faced them, they would kill me. I didn't think that on a conscious level, but that's how I operated. The way I ate to escape, the way I ran as far as I could from those feelings, you would think that I believed they would kill me. And I think on a subconscious level, I did believe that. And I believe you do too. And emotional eaters do. And again, you may be saying, what? I don't believe that. Take away your favorite foods. Take away that bread at mealtime. Take away the carbs, okay? Stick to salads instead of sandwiches. Take the carbs out of your meals, and you'll find yourself waking up to emotions you never knew you had, thoughts that you never believed you would think, because this is all what's underneath the surface of our eating behaviors. This is the stuff that's really there that we're running from. So that's why it's vital that we stop and face this stuff. And you can do that through my 7 simple steps to end emotional eating now. Throughout my book, I outline it, and throughout my course, I walk people step by step through this healing process where you can stop and face whatever it is you're running from, and it can be such a not a big deal, such a not a big deal, because the boogeyman is always scarier when we're running from them than when we stop and we bust them in the mouth, right? And that's what I'm talking about doing, is busting these feelings in the mouth and saying, you know what, I'm not going to be controlled by you anymore. This is just smoke and mirrors. There's nothing real to these fears. I am so much more than I believe I am. You know, my higher power is so much bigger than I give it credit for. And I'm going to stop being chased by the bully, and I'm going to finally take back my life and eat in a way that feels good and nourishing and feeds my body instead of stuffs my emotions. So that's what you can have. But it all starts with admitting you're an emotional eater, and it does not matter what your eating looks like. But just know that if you're a meat and potatoes kind of person, if you're stuck on those heavier meals, those high-calorie rich meals, that heavy gravy on the potatoes, lots of fat, sandwiches always, never salads. I mean, if this is the way you're eating, or if you're a really healthy person but you're hooked on your bars, you know, and or if you're an under-eating eater and you're hooked on your little food rituals, your means of controlling and staying, you know, in tight control of your food, all of you can get benefit, whatever form your eating disorder takes. You can get benefit from stopping and facing what it is you're running from. And this does not have to be heavy or hard at all. It's simply slowing down and getting centered and still and taking back your power, basically taking back, you know, I don't want to say even power or control, because we can actually surrender to a higher power in a way that gives us an empowered feeling. But you can have that feeling and you can say, hey, I got this. You know, I can, this emotion, whatever it is, I can do this because it's not going to overtake me or own me anymore. So that's really what I want to cover. I mean, if you're hooked on starchy foods, there's a reason beyond taste, okay? I thought I just liked food. That's all there was to it as far as I was concerned, but that was not the case, and it's probably not for you as well. But the good news is you can come out of denial, face the problem, and break free, and that's what I'm excited to help you do. So anyway, go to healyourhunger.com if you want to learn more about the course. And please tune in next time, and be sure to post a comment on the Heal Your Hunger page on Facebook. That's where I am. That's where I'm posting inspirational thoughts and experiences, and let's have a conversation there. But thanks for joining me. It's so good to have you as always. And please pick up a copy of the book, Heal Your Hunger, 7 Simple Steps to End Emotional Eating Now. It's available now on Amazon, and it's awesome. People are just loving this book, and you'll love it too. Thanks so much. Take it easy.
If you enjoyed this show and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.